Hello, everybody. Welcome to Draw With Me. I am Danny Gregory. It is Thursday. It's June 9th. You wouldn't know it from being here in Phoenix because we are in the seventh ring of hell, where it is going to be 115 degrees, something like that this weekend. So it's an inferno, but hopefully June is beautiful where you are and you're enjoying the weather. I want to say hello to everybody who's here today. It's so nice to see you all. Thank you for joining us. A few new people, including June Gregory. Seems appropriate, right? Thank you for coming today. And maybe we're distantly related, or maybe you're the mother I've been seeking. No, I hope my mother isn't watching this. Sue, hello. Nice to see you here from England. And Monica from Spain, and all of our many friends. A from France. Very nice to see you in your brevity. Yes, Dee Dee from Boston, and Hashi from Malibu, Myrna from Vancouver, and lots of other friends. So thanks for being here. Today things are returning to normal here in our household. We were away last week, and we did this broadcast from our mountaintop refuge, where it was much cooler. And we also missed the week before because JJ and I were both sick with COVID, but we are both fine now. And sorry, it sounds like I'm not, but I am. I'm actually fine. I need to lubricate the mechanism with some sketchbook school cold brew. So yes, I wanted to share some nice stuff here today. We got some mail from some folks. Let me just switch here to this camera. Check it out. We got a very nice card here from Melissa with a picture of her marriage in 2018 and the story of her romance with her husband, which was very nice. Thank you for sharing that. And we got this beautifully designed zine with some very nice thick paper too, from Retta Booth Thompson Clues. Thank you, Retta Booth Thompson Clues, for these beautiful drawings too, and a little note. And we got another zine here, which is the first issue of this zine, with an immigration pop quiz and various other things. Seems much more of a sort of a news focused. There's a coloring page, and this is from D. Thank you, Dee. And thank you for being part of Draw With Me. If you'd like to send us something. Oh, look. I don't even need to share. I don't even need to put up a post-it or a poster or super. Here it is. Sketchbook School POB 45365 if you would like to write. Casey, is this a gay-friendly zone? Of course it is. It is. We welcome everybody. In fact, the Sketchbook School motto is Art for All. Art for All. So, of course, that includes gay people and other people, non-gay people. What is a zine? A zine is a little personal magazine, a personally published magazine. And a lot of our viewers here and a lot of members of Sketchbook School like making these little zines. You can make a zine out of a single piece of paper and fold it and make an 8-page or double-sided 16-page little zine and then send it to your friends. You can copy it on a regular copier. You can do all kinds of things. You could print it in all sorts of different ways. So, thank you all for being here, and let's get on with it. Today, well, first of all, I want to talk about my materials, my art supplies. Today I'm going to be using this Honolulu watercolor paper. I've used it many times before. It's a fantastic product. It is. I'm using the cold press. I'm going to probably switch to the hot press next, I think, when I finish this particular block, which I will soon. And I would love to give you this Honolulu watercolor paper if you'd like it. So if you would, and you're based in the United States, fortunately, we're sponsored by Honolulu, USA. And for now, at least, the samples that we give away are sent only to people in the United States. So as JJ has just put in the comments, we're giving away the 9x12 cold press block, which is what I just showed you, which I'm going to be using. And it is very nice. Just write to info@sketchbookschool.com. Send us your mailing address, please. A lot of times people forget to send their mailing address, and then we can't mail it to you. So we are giving away, I'm not sure how many we are, 2 of them, 2 of these blocks. And generally the way it works is it's sort of a random selection of subjectively picked emails. So somebody writes us an email that gives us a nice feeling from their email, or they have a good reason for wanting to have this particular thing, etc. We will randomly select, it's just, we like to get nice emails. So don't just send us your email, your main shipping address and say, give me that paper. Make us smile. Why not? Yes, so as JJ says, please include your shipping address. Winners are randomly selected. Okay. And of course, subscribe to this channel. I was recently reading that it is pointless when you have a YouTube channel to tell people to subscribe to the channel. It makes no difference. I'm going to keep doing it just because why not? But apparently it's an pointless effort, as are many things on social media. So there we have it. Helen is feeling unloved because she's in Europe. I know. It's tough. It's tough not being in America. It's tough being in America too, honestly. So you're not missing that much. But one day we will be able to ship stuff all around the world. I don't know, but we do love you, as everybody else seems to agree. All right, good. So here's what I wanted to talk about today. Today is randomly, officially, national, but I think international, Donald Duck Day. I've always been a big fan of Donald Duck. Mickey Mouse is fine, but Donald Duck feels just more genuine, if you will. He's like he's a bad-tempered, irritable person generally. He's a braggart. He is, he flies off the handle really easily. And we're going to talk a bit about Donald Duck and what he might represent today, but we're also going to draw him. Now, I don't know about you, but I remember as a kid, certainly, trying to draw Donald and other cartoon characters. And so I thought, let's try and get back into that, but maybe do it with a bit of an adult perspective. So we can, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do today. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be, try and be as orthodox as possible in my depiction of Donald Duck, or am I going to use him perhaps as a springboard for something more creative? I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm feeling yet. We're going to find out, or I'm going to find out as I start working, and you'll probably find out the same thing too. But I think that Donald Duck is, Casey has a good point. Why does Donald Duck wrap a towel around his waist after a shower, but he never wears pants? In fact, I was reading about the fact that in Finland at one point, this may have been joking, but they banned him because he doesn't wear trousers. And he consorts with Daisy, but he's not married to her. Whereas I think Mickey is sort of married to Minnie, and they have a dog, and they live in a house, but I don't know. He's a slightly less reputable character, which is fine with me. Being, he's not likable, although I like him. So I identify with him too in that regard. So anyway, I'm not wearing pants either, but I am wearing a towel. Don't try to picture it. Drop it, move on. Doesn't matter. I'll hear about this later on. But yeah. Okay, so let's have a look at Donald Duck. All right, so here is a fairly classic picture of Donald. The Donald? No, he's not the Donald. He is actually the Donald, but we're not going to deal with that. Ty Paints, welcome. So yes, so here he is. What can we say about him immediately? Well, he appears to be some sort of a sailor. Now, I was looking at an early picture of him, and he was much sort of thinner and taller when he first appeared, but he was still wearing some variation of this sailor suit. I don't know, is it like he's a sailor because he's a duck? I guess that's what it is, right? He's a duck, so therefore he's a sailor. Doesn't make a huge amount of sense, right? But anyway, I see some people are suggesting that we make it International No Pants Day. Haven't we had enough with no pants for the last 2 years? I haven't been wearing pants in a long time. Again, don't picture it. But certainly, let's make this International No Pants Day. None of us are going to wear pants for the rest of the day. We're artists. We can be nutty, wacky, and do things like that. All right. So yes, Chalk D was also, Chalk DD was thinner and taller too. Yeah, same here. Was I taller? Probably. We continue to settle and shrink with age. Anyway, so, I think that so here's what I want to do. I think looking at him at first it seems relatively easy, but actually I think the more you look at it, the more you might start to freak a little bit about it. Monica points out that Donald Duck is actually part of the Navy. And that's the thing I wanted to talk about. I wasn't sure whether to talk, maybe I'll talk about it now so we can just get it out of the way and think about it. But I've been reading this theory that Donald Duck, the reason that he's so irascible and flies off the handle is because he has PTSD from being a member of the armed services, particularly after World War II. Now, let's just look at this briefly. I pulled together some things. So here we see some stuff about Donald, which is he is, he's very emotional. A lot of things of him crying, a lot of things of him flying off the handle. There he is as a member of the military. And in World War II, he was in a lot of sort of like educational films that the Army put together, the Navy put together, Army maybe too. There's a film which is called Hitler's Face, I think, that won the Oscar in like 1940 something or other, where he played some innocent German working on the munitions building line and being traumatized by that. So he was definitely, and apparently his personality kind of changed during World War II. And he went from being just sort of flying off the handle and being mad to actually being like violent and aggressive. So, all right, poor Donald. Like this is a really traumatic sort of comic here. Here he is. I'm in a minefield, and there's a little bit of racism in here, so watch it. Machine guns ahead. It's a Jap ambush. Yeah, so there's a bit of racism, and that's unfortunate too. But yes, and it's basically his nephews know that he's sleepwalking. So yeah, so maybe that's the case. Traumatized by his service. That's a shame. But yeah, so as Suzanne is learning, Donald is a multidimensional character. And I think that that's why he's been around for so long, He's not just two-dimensional. Well, he is two-dimensional by and large because he's painted in this way. Although recently, when you look at new versions of Donald Duck, there's a lot of like modeling and like shadows and stuff like that. I like the flat old style of comic book and cartoon. And Donald Duck was like a big comic book character as well as an animated character. So, yeah. So that's so now everybody's feeling sorry for Donald. That's good. Okay. Let's start drawing him. But now here's what I want to do. Okay, I'm going to open my watercolor thing. I'm going to do it on watercolor paper, and I'm going to do it with watercolors. But I might actually start because of my new, I don't know if you've been following me for a while, but here's my new thing, drawing with a pencil. I might do it again. But here's what I want to do. Are you ready to begin this? I hope you haven't started, actually. I'm going to actually erase this little sort of schmutz here. But here's what I want to do. Are you ready? Are you ready for a traumatic thing? You're going to panic when I do this. You're going to panic. What did I just do? I just turned him upside down. It's okay. We're cool. He's upside down. Now, why is he upside down? I think we're going to draw him this way. Because I think it will be easier. It will be easier. We'll find out if I'm right in a minute when we start doing it. Okay, so I want to do a little bit of preparation too. So we want to make sure that it fits pretty much on the page. Okay, I'm going to try and do it, and we want to measure him. So let's measure. I'm just going to take my pencil here and measure him from the bottom of that foot to the bottom of his jacket. Okay, that's one measurement. And now I'm going to take that down, that same measurement, and I'm going to measure from the bottom of his jacket to the bottom of his bill, his beak. So that's another third, and then I'm going to move it down again, and we're going to see that that's another third. So he's basically 3. We're going to break it down to 3 proportions. So I'm just going to mark on my page that, and I'm going to sort of see let's see if I do this right. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so it's going to be about 1. That's the bottom of his foot. That's the bottom of his jacket. That's the bottom of his bill, and that's more or less the top of his hat. I don't have to be super specific about it, but just sometimes when you're drawing upside down like this, you can start to panic and say, I don't know how far down I am. So this will give you just a measure, a little bit of a handrail. Okay? So we got that. All right. So now I'm going to start here. I like to start here at the top with his foot. I'm getting nervous. Are you getting nervous? Are you nervous? Don't be nervous. Just don't be nervous. Start drawing. All right, so what I'm going to do is there are a few things that we want to think about while we're doing this too. Because you'll notice that that the line quality is sort of an element here. The line quality. Right? Some of the lines are thin, some are thick, some sweep and change. There's the bottom of that jacket, right? So I want to make sure that I'm going to kind of come to that. Again, I am not thinking about the fact that I'm drawing with a pencil. So I'm not planning to erase anything. It's possible that I will screw up, and then I will burst into a rage like Donald, and I will splutter and spit. But I'm not going to erase anything. I'm going to live with whatever I make, because honestly, one of the things about drawing upside down is it is kind of difficult to judge whether what you're doing, you'll feel like things are wrong, and then later on you'll see when we turn it upside down that they weren't wrong. What's happening right now is your brain is just wrestling with itself, and it's saying, you know what, this couldn't possibly be right because it's upside down. But it is correct. It is, trust me. just trust you, actually. Now, another thing we want to look at also is negative space, right? So negative space is that space. Like, look here at, oops, you can't see. Look here at his, the back of his foot here. You see how there's that space, that shape here and here between his body and the heel. You kind of want to look at those sorts of shapes and use them as a guide. Suddenly, let's look at the thickness here of his leg, and then we're going to look at this line that sweeps back. I won't share with you all the details, but there is an intense debate going on inside my skull right now, where part of me is convinced that I'm making huge numbers of errors. I mean, it's really, that voice is the voice of Donald, honestly. It is very unhappy, but that's okay. We're gonna be calm. We're gonna proceed. Nonetheless, what is the sort of apocryphal British World War II thing? Keep calm and carry on. That's what we're gonna do. And we want to take our time, because a lot of these proportions, like for instance, how fat is his little body here, his little hips, this pants-free area, you know? We don't know yet. Just want to make sure that those are the things I'm looking at. And here I have this line, I have this line. And this, we may come back and make some changes to some of this, but I'll explain to you how we're going to do that later on. So for now, just do your best, trust what you're doing. Don't be too judgmental. We can hear that the leaf blowers are starting to warm up outside. This is a Draw With Me tradition. For those of you who are new to the show, we hire a group of itinerant gardeners to come and provide background music for us in the form of leaf blowing. Okay, now here's a problem already. See how this curves down, but I didn't really make a curve down. I just introduced that hand probably too soon. Okay. And then here's his arm coming back, but I'm a little confused here. It's okay. It's all right. And remember that a lot of the times when you're drawing upside down like this, one of the challenges is you don't really know exactly what the thing is that you're drawing. So I might say, oh, that's his thumb in this, but is it really exactly? And what is exactly this line? And all those things. So don't worry about giving them names yet. That's part of the benefit of drawing upside down, is you don't have to worry so much about these elements and what they actually seem to be. It's because if you think you know what they are, then you're going to try and draw not from observation, but from recollection, what you think these things look like. But instead, if you just look at the line and just say, okay, this is an oval, not going to worry about, and then this is another oval, but this oval is narrower and thinner, and then it has this line here. So I'm not thinking, oh, that's a button seen from the side, because that could be confusing. And now I'm looking at this bow, but the bow is really kind of just a shape that is almost like an oval on its side, or like a little bean, or even a croissant. I'm saying croissant because I haven't really had breakfast. And then there's this bit that sticks out here, and then there's a part that comes up above. So you're just kind of talking to yourself in these terms. Here's a little, this line is shorter than that line, and then this one arcs down. And then I go back and I say, okay, did I get this length right? I think I did. And then there is this yellow line that's going up here and connecting here. And then there's another parallel line that becomes a bit thicker at the bottom. And you see I've already made a mistake here because I've connected to the top of this red thing, but actually it seems to connect to the middle of it. So, all right, I made a mistake there. It's fine. I will live with that. And then there's this blue line here that comes back up. And then there's another line here. And then there's this orange part that's coming across here. And now I draw this blue line or blue shape here. Again, I'm feeling like this is a bit long. I think I've made this part too long. I think I've made this whole red bit a bit too low. It's okay. It's going to perhaps look a bit weird when I turn it around. It's because this is definitely too long. Definitely way long. So these are all the kinds of little judgments that you're making as you go. And you don't have to say, oh, I screwed that up. You just say, okay, I've noticed that I did that. Let me just take my time and try to be a bit more precise next time I do one of these shapes and lines. And just take my time. That's the key to so much of this, is just to slow down and try to get rid of your preconceptions. So then we have this line here that's going to go across, more or less a straight line. It comes back, arcing back up. And then we have this line that meets it. Another line with a little cross beam there. And then this one is connected almost exactly at that point. And then this continues here, goes back. Okay. You can see this whole scene in here. It's ugly. It was an ugly battle that that I have many regrets about, but I refuse to be traumatized by this experience. So here's this U line that's kind of parallel to it, to this outside one, and then there is this thing that sweeps across and goes up. I hope you be able to see already that this approach to drawing, which, as somebody's already pointed out, Betty Edwards described in her book, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, but this approach to drawing is really useful because you can apply it to anything. It doesn't have to just be upside down, but it's allowing your brain to just think really much more objectively than it normally does, and to think just in terms of what are these individual shapes, and not to label them. So if you asked me to draw a duck's bill, if I even had any idea how to do it at all, it probably wouldn't look and have these component parts. But what I find when I do these component parts and I put them all together is they kind of turn out to be right, because I'm trusting this sort of observing part of me. So now here's what's happening now is so I'm already feeling like I've made this part of him a bit short because I've lost my little marker. But is the top of his head going to be correct? I don't know. I think not. I think I've squished something because I kind of forgot about my place marker. And I can see now that I'm never going to reach all the way here. No way, right? So he's probably going to end up seeming a little stunted. But the thing about this drawing that I'm doing of Donald Duck is, if when I turn this around I'm horrified by it, it doesn't really matter, because I could always do it again if I really felt like it. But I've also learned some stuff from it, and that's really why we're doing this, is just to have some fun, to not beat ourselves up, and to come away with just a little bit more degree of confidence. And say, you know what? That wasn't bad. I learned some stuff. I relaxed and got into it. Yeah, so definitely this is way more compressed than it should be. But there's a lot of things to be learned from this. So even if we find, wow, I got to the last bit. I sort of forgotten where I was on this journey. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's it. I think I've drawn all the bits now. It's Edie Sedgwick. Edie, I thought you were dead. Say hi to Andy. All right. All right, so I think we've got all the bits now. Now, are we ready for the big reveal? All right, let's turn Donald around. And now, boom, here we go. You know, it's not bad. It looks a little bit like one of those sort of bootleg Donalds. It's a little bootleg. A little, copyright infringement. But, it's not bad. Okay, but now what are we going to do? Now we're going to make it better. Or we're going to have more fun with it. So what do you want to do now that we've got this drawing? And I'd hope when I say to you, what are you going to do next? I hope picking up an eraser is not what you're going to say. But what we can do is we can go back in and we can do a few, like other things that you left out. That's fine. Other things that you go, oh, shoot, I forgot that line. That's okay. See, I was so worried about this whole area. And yeah, it's a little low. It doesn't really matter. It really didn't make any difference. I think the most important parts of him are honestly his eyes and his mouth. That's really where the expression is. And right now they look pretty good. When I color them in, we'll see whether they are correct. But yeah, his head is a little stretched, but generally pretty good. Let's watercolors. We're working on watercolor paper. Let's get some watercolors in here. So what I want to do is I want to start light. I want to start with the lightest bits. And, I think what I'm going for here, at least now, is I'm going to really try and reproduce what I've seen. I'm going to really try, and I'm not going to take a lot of artistic license just because I want to see. Sometimes you do a thing like this and you go, you know what? I'm going to start improvising. And part of the reason you might do that is because you'd say, it doesn't look really right. It doesn't look really real. So let me pretend that was the whole point all along. And I'll just start improvising. So let's start here. Let's start with an attempt to make it look as much as possible like the finished piece. As much as we can make it look like an actual Walt Disney animation cell. Okay, so that's all the bits of yellow. Think about how many times, by the way, Donald Duck has been drawn. I mean, people have been making Donald Duck cartoons for almost 100 years. And every one of them has literally thousands, possibly tens of thousands of drawings in it. So he's been drawn an awful, awful lot. And not to mention all the comic books, not to mention all of the sort of like, I don't know, knockoff laundry detergent boxes and kids' pajamas and all the other ways in which people have illustrated him. So yes, he's been drawn a lot. People have kind of got it down. We really know the details. We don't know specifically. If I asked you to draw Donald Duck just from memory, which maybe we could have started with that. let's just draw him from memory. You might not have gotten all the bits, but when you look at him, you pretty much know what he's supposed to look like. So I'm going to try and adhere to that as much as I can. Another thing, and we'll get to this in a minute or two, is Donald Duck, by and large, was not drawn with a pencil. He was not drawn with a pen, I don't think. I think a lot of the time he was drawn with a brush, which is good because we're watercoloring here. So that's the perfect medium, is to draw him with a brush. So we're going to want to go in later on and maybe redraw all these lines in with a brush. We might draw them in ink. I might actually draw them in watercolor. But when you draw with a brush, you're going to get these really nice lines that have some character to them, unlike these pencil lines that are pretty just flat, rough. I'm also painting really fairly flat. I'm not really trying to put any modeling into him, but you feel free to do that if you want to. That would be cool. You can make him look like a three-dimensional object and have some lighting source, or you could just do much more abstract, or you could screw around the colors and do something completely different. You could cross-hatch the whole thing. Whatever you're feeling, cross-hatching seems somewhat appropriate for a duck that's often cross. You decide. This is your duck. It's not Walt Disney's duck. It's not Carl Banks. Carl Banks was the guy who, I think he did a lot of the comic books. I used to love those comic books, boy. There'd be all these adventures that Donald would have, particularly with his nephews and all the Scrooge McDuck. Like Scrooge McDuck is not really a character who's in cartoons, I think, much. I think he was mainly a comic character. Moving on to blue. My colors are not really the same as the Disney ones. It's partly because they're watercolor. I think if I wanted to get really much closer to the look of the original, I'd probably use gouache. Although they were painted with painted on transparent animation cells, no texture, and they were probably individual, like bottles of pre-mixed color. Boy, I really got that hat wrong. Now I'm seeing it. Boy, it's really perched on his head. Yeah, well, he's my version of Donald Duck. He's Danald Duck. I'm painting with two different brushes, number 7 and a number 1, just because I'm kind of anxious about the details. This is not the kind of painting that I do an awful lot because it is so, you're really trying to get it all perfect. It's not super expressive. It's more detail work, which you may or may not know I am not known for because I'm not very good at being careful. Yeah. Nonetheless, that's what we're trying for today. Good to step out of your comfort zone and try something a bit different for you. I'm assuming that you haven't drawn Donald Duck. Recently, at least. So maybe this is a stretch for you. You might also say, you know what, this is just not my kind of art. That's fine. It's not my kind of art either. Personally, my kind of art is usually interpretive dance. I do a lot of interpretive dance. I like to just slip into a leotard and cavort and express myself. But, gotta stretch. Particularly if you're an interpretive dancer, gotta stretch, or else you'll pull something. It's interesting to leave the eyes till last, because the eyes are what make him come alive. You notice also he doesn't have a highlight in his eyes. Does Mickey Mouse have a highlight? A lot of comic characters do have a highlight, which tends to make them look a bit more alive. Like a little triangle of white sticking out there. But Donald has the cold black eyes of a killer. Or of a beagle. All right, this is a bit tedious. I feel like I'm sort of working on a coloring book or something, but I hope you're not too bored watching this, because you're doing your own thing. Or maybe you've just gone on to something else. Okay, we're almost done. Just had this temptation to zoom in. God, I've been spending too much time on the computer and on my phone, because I was like, oh, I can just zoom in and look at this more carefully. It's like, no, you can't. This is reality, my friend. There's no zooming. No zooming in reality. You have to work with your limitations. You need to get one of those, like, kind of clip-on, strap-on magnifying glasses that, like, guys who fix watches have. Yeah, if that ever happens, shoot me, please. If I ever get that sort of anal and worried about things, I won't be myself. All right. Kind of colored in. Got all the colors in, except for these eyeballs. So, could do that with ink. I think I'm going to use Payne's Gray instead. This part, I have to say, is a little nerve-wracking, of course, but also, this is an opportunity again to look at the negative space. What is that shape around that iris? Now, I also could have painted his eyeballs light blue. I didn't. And if I do it now, it'll start bleeding into stuff. So let's not, and say we did. All right. So now that I've got a brush loaded with Payne's Gray, I'm thinking I'm going to try using it as to make some lines. Will we do all the lines? I don't know. Let's see. This is an opportunity to correct stuff. Now, if I was sort of more traditional, what I would be doing is I would be planning to erase all of these pencil lines later on. But honestly, I'm not going to. Because I just can't be bothered. I don't really care. But hopefully these lines give me an opportunity to redraw them, and also to look at how to make them a bit more expressive. Some are thicker, some are thinner. And that's something that you can get out of the brush more easily than with the pencil. Keep looking back at the original art too. Don't just look at your pencil line if you're going to do this stage of it. Think about what was there in the original art. Because when you look at these lines, you can sort of see what the path of the stroke was that the original artist took. You can see where this was thinner, and then this was a bit heavier because he swept up, and then so forth. So you're going to see that the line variations are kind of a function of the direction of the stroke. They're not a stylistic thing necessarily. They're just because when you put the brush down, you'll tend to get a thicker stroke. And when you pull it up, it'll get thinner. So this is taking a bit longer than I thought it was going to. Imagine if I had to do an entire film. When you're doing this, be sure that your color coat is dry, because otherwise you're going to get some horrible bleeding. And feel free to turn it like I'm doing, because when you turn it, you can get a bit more control with the individual strokes. So I made that very thick, which is unfortunate because the original one was very thin. But I don't think when they come and when the government sends their art inspectors to come and check my work, I don't think that they will take away my license for having made that decision. It wasn't even a decision; it was a mistake. But I don't think it's a crucial mistake. When I say mistake, it's just because I was being careless and wasn't looking. Didn't look at what the original line had to offer. There's also a quality that watercolor lines, particularly on this nice cold press paper, have that is different than ink would be. And I'm going to try and hold on to some of that. So have some of the roughness of that line quality. It's fine with me. I'm not trying for the kind of seamless perfection that you would get when you're painting an animation cell. Again, painting with flat color on basically a sheet of plastic. This is a watercolor, and it has some of the peccadillos of watercolor. Oh, I didn't paint this whole thing in. This whole ribbon is black. So I didn't really investigate what Donald Duck Day is about exactly. Like, what are you supposed to do? Draw Donald Duck? Not wear pants? Be angry? I didn't really look into that. If somebody wants to go and research what that's about and let us know next time, that would be interesting. Sort of. Although we might not even remember that we'd done this by then, so I wouldn't waste too much time doing it. See, some lines matter more than others. I think that this set of lines around his face matter quite a lot. Hey, it's upside down again. What do you know? He's sort of a thrift store Donald, I decided. You know, he's not like a fresh and clean Donald. He's slightly used. He's been slightly abused by previous owners, but he's perfectly serviceable. Certainly recognizably Donald. But he's developed a bit of character. He's had a bit more trauma added to him, thanks to my treatment. There you go. Serviceable Donald Duck. Watercolor. And that's how it's done. I hope you did a good job too, or an adequate job. There he is. Let me. Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. And that's all that matters. Thanks for joining me to celebrate Donald Duck Day. I see. I haven't been paying attention to your comments, but I'm glad that you've been chatting with each other. I hope some of you have been drawing too, because I'm looking forward to seeing your Donalds. I want to have a whole parade of Donald. Do you remember, speaking of parades? M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-M-O, Donald Duck. Remember that thing? Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck. Like Donald Duck was like barging into the Mickey Mouse Club parade and trying to create like an alternate stream of support unnecessarily. He's just an aggressive bully. That's what a lot of it is. He's a bully. I think a lot of times that's what he did, bullying other characters. I see that you're talking about other pens and stuff like that. Is that because I guess I could have done this with a dip pen, but there's something about the brush thing that was intriguing to me. I liked that. Forever let us hold the banner high, 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 high. Yeah, he's the leader of the band that's made for you and I, or you and me. M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E, Donald Duck. Joe Domeyer chipping in with some unsavory. Rodent versus fowl. Who would win? A mouse versus a duck. Ducks are big. Interesting. Join our jamboree. It's true. Mickey Mouse Club was kind of an important thing in my life. But you know the thing that stuck with me? And I bring this up on occasion, and nobody else really understands or cares about the reference, but there was a show called Spin and Marty that was part of the Mickey Mouse Club. I often bring it up. Nobody ever says, I remember Spin and Marty. But I actually was recently watching Spin and Marty on the Mickey Mouse, on the Disney Channel. Spin and Marty. Spin and Marty. Who was who? One of them was like a regular American kid, worked on a ranch. The other was a spoiled, rich kid who got dumped in this camp. I think he even had a chauffeur with him. Yeah, it was like that classic story. Spin and Marty. Kind of like Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse. Or Richie Rich. Remember Richie Rich? Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me today. I see that we have some revelations. Some revelations about Donald. And Suzanne remembers Spin and Marty. I'm not sure if that's a reference. What do you want to do? No, you're thinking of Marty, the movie with Ernest Borgnine. No, that's something completely different. Spin Marty was a show that was on the Mickey Mouse Club. Anyway, I'll continue on my way, being just the only person who really cares about Spin Marty. But I'm glad that we all had a chance to spend some time with Donald Duck and enjoy him today. And I will see you soon. Oh, just a recap. If you would like this handsome Hanamula watercolor block, please write to us. Tell us why you want it. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to draw other cartoon characters? Are you going to do beautiful classic watercolors? Are you going to make a zine out of it? What are you going to do? Let us know. I write an essay every Friday, and I send it out to people. It's free. You might, if you've never received it, try it. Go to dannysessays.com, sign up for it. You might like it. I might talk about other cartoon characters in the future. I don't know. I talk about all kinds of crap. You'll probably like it. And then hashtag SBS Draw with me. That's what I want you to put on your Mickey Mouse, your Donald Duck. If you did Mickey Mouse, okay. If you did Goofy, kind of better. Pluto, perhaps a little bit above Goofy. But Donald Duck is what we want to see. We want to see your Donald Duck. So post it on Facebook, post it on Instagram, post it in the Sketchbook School schoolyard, and put hashtag SBS Draw with me on it. Then we can find it, and then we can have our Mickey Mouse Club parade next week and see what you've done. We can check out all of our ducks, get all of our ducks in a row. My God, that'll happen next week. I'll see you then. Enjoy this the rest of the week. Hope you can do some drawing on your own too. See you all then. Joe just came in. Joe, you're late, but yes, we're drawing Donald without pants, and we're drawing them ourselves. We're not wearing pants. If you're wearing pants, slip out of them and do a drawing. See you next week.